Good morning. It is 7:32 a.m. on Thursday, April 4th, 2019, here in Korea. And I am alive. Managing to adjust to the time zone relatively well. So this is the second night in a row of going to bed at bedtime and waking up time, which, as planned. But there's always an adjustment period where even if I'm sleeping at the right times, my brain still expects to be asleep or awake at different times. And so, for example, yesterday, towards the end of the workday, I'm still there, I'm still awake thanks to caffeine, but there's definitely a slowness of reaction time, a slight diminishing of fine motor skills, that sort of thing. But otherwise, getting back into the routine here. One of the things, though, that I've been thinking about in the background is invited to play in a friend's D&D game that I probably won't be joining in until I get back, but I'm planning ahead for the character that I want to play. And I tell you, I don't want to make it seem like the actual playing is not the fun part, but building characters for role-playing games is it's very, very cool. There's such an exciting air of possibility to it, where you start thinking of general concepts, but then as you start to refine it, and there are the different mechanical options, like do it choose this subclass or that subclass, this feature or that feature, this spell or that spell. But the exciting thing about that is thinking about how each choice informs the character and who they are. And also, for that matter, how you would present the whole thing. So, for example, if you have a lot of spells to choose from, or like there's several different choices of elemental damage, for example. So you could focus more on fire spells or more on cold spells. And what does that mean for the character? Are they cold? Are they fiery? And I just think that, building all of those things in, thinking about the backstory, like why would they have this spell over that spell, is so much more than just the mechanics of, well, if you do, the average damage ratio, you'll see that although this spell is impressive at earlier levels, it'll gradually be outpaced by this other spell as you level up. And so it's really better to so like you can do all of that. And I'm not criticizing the people who plot all that stuff out, because I think that's also very interesting to know. But especially since, most characters in most campaigns, you're not necessarily talking about running them all the way from level 1 to level 20. So I think it's probably better / more important to be able to really inhabit the mindset of your character, or whatever that means. And so that might mean choosing non-optimal spells. And in fact, some of the most fun stuff that can happen in D&D is when you don't succeed on what you're trying to do. And so sometimes with the damage output spells, just the idea that like, oh, well, this spell over that spell is going to eventually, on average, do 20% more damage. That's not necessarily as interesting. But the point is that min-maxing a character just to make them the most mechanically effective is not always the most fun way to build a character. I mean, I'm not, there are so many different approaches that's a legit way to do it too. But for me, what I get really excited about is getting inside the head of this character and figuring out, like, who is this person? What sorts of spells do they like to cast? What, when they use this particular feature of their class, how does that present to everyone else? And I love that headspace of thinking about those things. Anyway, that's kind of where my head's at this morning. Also, still trying to plug away and get through my rewatch of Game of Thrones because Beyond the Wall is coming back. We're going to be doing our pre-show recording very soon, and then, of course, once the new season starts, so keep an eye out for that. And so in the meantime, I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.